Deep in the north, a Runelord held a grudge against the mighty Wulfrik the Wanderer, and now was the time of reckoning. That's right, folks. I've got you a battle, and yes, I'm just being a bit goofy. But seriously, this is going to be a reckoning of grudges, if I can help it, against Norska. We'll see whether I can help it. I've got the dwarves here, and I am rocking a Runelord. He's got the 3 different runes that he brings, as well as his ability that gives him immune to psychology. And I took away the one that gives extra armor-piercing damage because I did not expect a ton of armor from the Norscan. So I've got 2 miners with blasting charges up front to kind of disrupt charges. My infantry is kind of set up in a checkerboard, very deep formation, in order to allow me to make use of reserve units throughout the battle. I have 3 dwarf warriors, one of which is the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. I brought these guys because they're high armor, and if my opponent just... I don't expect to have like an all Berserker army against the Dwarves because they're heavy on armor, but Berserkers and other cheaper infantry from Norska will struggle to cut through the high leadership, shielded armor Dwarf Warriors, so they are meant to kind of be a slowing effect after the miners with the blasting charges do their initial damage. I have 4 units of Quarrelers with great weapons. I brought these guys because they're pretty decent in a fight after they run out of ammo, and against a faction that tends to have low armor in general, which is Norska, the Quarrelers should be good, long-range, effective ways at dealing with mammoths, infantry, or just about anything else that I could run into. I've got 3 units of Longbeards. These guys are immune to psychology, stay in the fight for a long time. None of them are the armor-piercing variant. Again, because I figured I could probably go without a lot of armor-piercing damage and still will my way through. And then I've got 4 units of Slayers. This is in case I came up against large numbers of Trolls, Famir Warriors, all the nasty stuff you can come up against. I did not bring Giant Slayers, which would be better against those armored ones, but just the standard variant. Very worried about Chariots, Skin Wolves, and the like. Now, if my opponent brings Chariots, my goal is to use the Rune of Wrath and Ruin to slow those Chariots down, and then hit them with Quarrelers and swamp them with Slayers, and to kind of one at a time get rid of the Chariots while my infantry holds the line. Because if my opponent does bring a lot of Chariots, that means his infantry is likely to be fairly crappy. But if he brings good infantry, he has less money to spend on the other stuff that makes life a nightmare for dwarves. My opponent has brought Wulfrik, and he's got his Viking ship, and he is riding on a Chaos Steed here. So he's going to be up front of his army, and my opponent has brought a lot of Marauder champions with great weapons. So exactly kind of what I didn't prepare for here. But now, fortunately for me, Marauder champions with great weapons do not have shields. But he's also brought quite a few Marauder champions. So in total, there are 4 Marauder champions with great weapons. And then he's got a couple of Marauders and a couple of standard Marauder champions. I'd say it's 4 Marauders in total. And then in the very back, he's got these Javelins, Marauder Hunters with Javelins. I was kind of surprised to see these rather than the Marauders Hunters with throwing axes, as they are dedicated armor piercing. Both are short range and lose to Dwarf Skirmishers, so if you're going to bring one, it kind of feels strange that you didn't bring the one that does the armor piercing damage. But nonetheless, they could still be useful. If they get time to expel all their Javelins, they still do 35 missile damage, which is pretty significant. So we'll see how the engagement goes. I knew the map was a choke point, and definitely wanted to use that to my advantage to limit mobility. Which is one of the reasons why I felt safer about picking dwarves. You should always try to think about how the map might work for or against you when picking a faction. I'm going to go ahead and target one of his Marauder champions with great weapons. You can see that its lack of a shield makes it a very proper target for me. My blasting charges are going to do a little bit of disruption here in the beginning. So you're going to slow down this big infantry blob, and that's really all these guys are for. And then I'm going to start reinforcing with dwarf warriors. You can see here immediately I slow down Wulfrik to try and make him less effective, but I didn't have Slayers nearby to follow up, so that was probably a mistake. Probably shouldn't have wasted that there. He comes straight through the middle with his Marauder champions wanting to get my Runelord. It's fine. I've got warriors there, and you can now see my Longbeards, Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, all my units now making their way to fill the gaps as I see fit. You can see one Marauder champion with a great weapon utterly wasted by my Quarrelers. And I can pick a new target. Now, a very nice Penumbral Pendulum over here from the Famir Balefiend, Lore of Shadows. And this guy's pretty good in melee, and I kind of feel like he should be trying to get into melee too, because sitting back here, I'm able to target him and cause pretty extensive damage. Because a Viking ship over here doing really good damage to my Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. You can see his Balefiend is really eating it right now. My opponent went all infantry because he didn't figure the dwarves have any mobility. And maybe he brought these javelins for gyrocopters specifically. Could be. Got an enfeebling foe over here. But I now have a missile advantage. I'm going to keep targeting his marauders with great weapons, his marauder champions, because they're unshielded. I'm just trying to cut down as many of them as I can. I'm not really worried about his javelins. They are causing damage. I don't love it. But I've got reinforcements that can fill the gaps where we might get cut through. Here I'm going to use a Slayer. And again, you can see I'm just holding the Slayers in reserve. And I want to use all the ammo on my Quarrelers. And then, as a last resort, I can throw them into combat because they have 80 armor and 80 armor piercing damage. Their attack is pretty low, but still, it gives them that option. Some of my miners came back, and I will reactivate them. Another Pendulum from the Bale Fiend, who has gotten 35 kills. He's now going to be the target of my Quarrelers once again. I didn't notice here that a few of my Quarrelers managed to get caught by these Marauder Champions with great weapons. That was not ideal for me. The Bale Fiend is taking tremendous damage. Wulfrik, I'm just kind of letting him fight it out. He's not causing me tons of trouble right now. I'm not loving the grief he's giving me. I threw the Dragonback Slayers in here after him. They managed to do some damage and help hold up that fight by poisoning the units that they're engaged with. So it did end up kind of helping in a way, although I didn't use the Dragonback Slayers perfectly there. You can see my reactivated infantry. I'm going to push back some of my Quarrelers with great weapons to get them to a safe distance, because slowly but surely the Norscan infantry punches through certain pieces of my line. But that's kind of the purpose of having this reserve system. I'm okay with that. I'm kind of fighting a war of attrition here. There's the miners with blasting charges. They didn't get to use all of them the first time, so they're going to unleash them there. I had to bring a Slayer on the flank to intercept a Marauder that was trying to outflank me, and it easily beats it down. And again, my Quarrelers have fallen back. Let's just take a look at the battle lines here. It's going to be another Viking ship hauling through here. Nicely done by Wulfrik. See the battle lines with my dwarves. There's Wulfrik there. I'm now going to target him with my Quarrelers. I've got the Bale Fiend pretty low. Now I want to get Wulfrik low. My Runelord has been quite safe over here. He's taken some damage, but he is pretty resistant to damage. I'm not terribly worried about him. This forces Wulfrik to disengage. So my Quarrelers are causing my opponent problems. He can't answer them right now. And I've got reinforcing units to continue to come back in. Over here, his Marauders are going to go ahead and drop out of the fight. And again, Wulfrik takes a lot of damage. He's a pretty easy target for my Quarrelers. He's well armored, and he has a shield, so he won't take damage real quickly, but he'll take damage. Yeah, you can see Wulfrik going to run around. Now he wants to come get a piece of my Runelord. That makes a lot of sense. He's used Hunter of Champions on him. He's going to really weaken up my Runelord and come in for the kill. But when he gets in this blob, I reinforce with Slayers, which is going to put a lot of potential damage around Wulfrik and help give some cover for my Runelord. My Runelord does take a lot of damage. The Bale Fiend, once again, becomes my target, and he has taken extensive damage. This is going the way I want it to. My Quarrelers getting to use every last bit of their ammo. Here, I started to run away from these Marauder Hunters, but then I was like, hey, if they want to fight with great weapons, let's have a fight. I don't think it's one that they want. So, yeah, they routed pretty much immediately. So the Marauder Hunters did get to use their javelins. It did cause damage to me, but I was focusing what I felt to be more important targets, which was the armored anti-armor infantry. It's kind of a mouthful. The Warriors of Dragonfire Pass managed to survive, and we got a mass rout. As the damage to Wulfrik and the Bale Fiend caused them to rout, even though my Quarrelers didn't kill them specifically, they caused enough damage to enact the rout. So let's think about my opponent's army here. It's an interesting pick. Not bringing the monsters of Norsca, which is definitely what I expected. I expected to run into skin wolves, Fimir warriors, potentially trolls, mammoths, all the kind of stuff that would really give dwarves nightmares. But he may have figured that a mammoth is just too much to try and manage with all the different missiles the dwarves can bring and slayers. And so he may have decided, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go away from the traditional, they think I'm gonna bring chariots and all that kind of stuff, and I'm just gonna rush with so much infantry that the dwarf opponent just won't be able to handle it. And then the javelins may have just been an insurance policy against something like gyrocopters. Because if you do get caught out with an all-infantry rush and a dwarf player picks gyrocopters, you're screwed. you're in a lot of trouble. So it was a fun game between Gandalf the Way and I. It was interesting to come up against a heavy infantry build. Actually, not what I had picked my army for, but I think my Quarrelers were multifunction enough that they helped me minimize a couple of his Marauder champions with great weapons. Look here, 3 kills. These two were held to 56 and 57. This one did decent. And then his Marauders, all held to relatively low kills. Again, the Quarrelers were really the MVP here. He couldn't touch them. They sat back. They caused tremendous damage to both of his leaders, to 2 of his specific infantry units, one of which was practically deleted before the battle. And then they still had some fighting capability left in case they would have needed it a little bit later in the battle. So again, that's exactly why I brought him. And then holding the reserves, you can see this Slayer unit held till the end in order to make sure that I had ways of protecting my Quarrelers till the bitter end. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed it. This was a fun game. If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. Hit that bell. If you liked it, hit the like button. That helps this trend. It helps other people find it. We can grow the community. If you didn't like it, tell me what I need to fix. Tell me what you want to see in the videos. I love making this for you. I will be back with more soon. HeirofCarthage, signing out.